First is that, we fought very, very hard to get this federal aid in New Jersey. You'll remember that I fought with everybody who needed to be fought with, including people in my own party, to make sure that Washington, D.C. understood the severity of what happened to us here. And that we weren't going to be treated like second-class citizens, and we weren't going to be treated like less than Louisiana or Alabama or Mississippi had been treated after Katrina, or how Florida had been treated after a number of their hurricanes, that we needed help, and help that we couldn't do all on our own. And so we fought, and now we're seeing the end of that tunnel, because I think by the second week of April, the federal government will approve our disaster recovery plan, and then we'll be able to have homeowners begin applying for grants of up to $150,000 to help rebuild, repair, restore their homes to what they need to be. We'll have businesses be ready to apply for grants, a significant amount of money, grants, not loans, to help get their businesses back up and running. We're going to have $1.8 billion of money to distribute almost evenly to homeowners and to businesses to get people back in their homes, get their businesses back up and running to near where they were before, so that we can begin to use that to repair some of those wounds that we've been talking about. Secondly, we're going to have to fight on these flood maps. Now, the fact is that the federal government, unfortunately, moves pretty slowly on this stuff. But we're working together with our congressional delegation to get them to revise these maps. They're going to be revised. It's going to happen. The question is when. I hope in a few months that they will be revised and sent back out, and then they're going to be revised again after that. So that's the process they use. That's the process they've always used on these maps. But you need to understand very clearly for me where I stand on it. I've adopted the maps as they are right now, so that for those who want to start to rebuild now, they know what the standards are, they know what the costs will be. But that doesn't mean that I agree with these maps, because I don't. And our experts don't agree. And we've been fighting with the freeholders in these counties, with the mayors in these counties, and their local engineers to bring all the evidence that we need to bring to bear to FEMA to make sure that they understand that these maps have to be changed. And I think we're beginning to convince them, and I'm confident that the maps are going to change. The only thing I'm not confident about is when. And so originally they told us 18 to 24 months. Now, we can't sit around and wait to rebuild our state for 18 to 24 months while they're trying to figure out some of these engineering equations. But now we're getting them to move faster. And yesterday, Congress, in their oversight ability, was putting more pressure on FEMA to move faster. And folks from both parties are working hard to try to get that done. So I want you to understand that we're not accepting this. We're going to fight to try to make sure that everybody is put in their appropriate spot. And then we've got to make sure that we rebuild at the same time. We can't sit around and wait. And for those of you who decide to rebuild now and you elevate your homes, you're not going to have wasted money there. One, we're going to help give you grants to help you elevate your home so the full expense is not borne by you. And secondly, you're going to see a benefit for elevating your homes from decreased flood insurance costs from what they would be if you didn't. So there's going to be a benefit if you decide that. If you have the option not to act and you decide not to, and decide to roll the dice a little bit and see about not elevating it, see where you end up, that's fine for those of you who are less than 50% damaged in your homes. But understand that the risk you take if the map doesn't move your home out of a greater flood zone is your flood insurance premiums, which Congress have now decided are going to be charged at market rates, where before they've been subsidized. Your flood insurance is going to go up significantly if you don't. Now, some people might say, I'll take that chance. I don't want to spend the money now. I'll spend it later. For people who are less than 50% damaged in their homes, you got the choice to make that. But what I'm trying to say to folks is, we're going to continue to fight to get the fairest flood maps we can. But in the meantime, I want people to make decisions about their future. I don't want you to be in suspended animation for the next year or two. It's not good for you, it's not good for your family, it's not good for our state. And that's why we're going to make grants available for people to raise their homes or do the other things that they need to do to try to get themselves ready and prepared to move back into those who haven't. So there's all kinds of misinformation out there about this stuff, and every time I come to a town hall meeting like this at the shore, or I'm just visiting some of the towns and I walk in the streets and talking to people, there's all kinds of misinformation. And if there's questions here, I'll try to answer them as best as I can today. But the bottom line is, it's going to be a few more months until we get new maps from FEMA. I suspect those new maps will be much less aggressive than the old maps, and that's going to be helpful to everybody. But ultimately, you are, for many of you, going to be in a position of having to make decisions about whether you raise your home or you don't. And there's going to be a cost associated with either one. We're going to help to try to defer those costs through the federal grant programs I talked about. But these are going to be decisions that I want you to make. I don't want the government coming in here and telling you what you must do or not do. But what our job is, if we don't tell you what you must do, is to advise you about, what the costs are going to be depending upon which action you take. That's the other reason why, we're talking about buying some homes through the Blue Acres program as well. You may have read that for areas that perpetually flood. But I'm not going to use condemnation to do that. I want this to be done voluntarily. We went to Union Beach and talked to people about whether they want to sell their homes, and we got a resounding hell no. They want to rebuild. But then you go to some places like Sayreville, which has flooded a number of times in the last few years, and there's a bunch of people in Sayreville that say, yeah, I want to sell. That's the way we're going to make these decisions. We're going to be going from town to town, neighborhood to neighborhood, and asking if a group of people will get together to sell. And if they want to do that voluntarily, then we're going to have the money to buy many of them out. But if they don't want to do it, I don't want to use condemnation to kick people out of their neighborhoods. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I don't think that's the spirit of our state. And so we're going to work with you to make these decisions. Now, as good as I think we're, or the job I think we're doing, we are still the government. And what that means is we're going to screw things up. Okay? It's just going to happen. I said the most frightening thing about being governor is that there's 60,000 people who have letterhead with my name on it, and I have no idea what they're doing every day. I've seen some stuff recently where I just shake my head and wonder, what the heck are people thinking? Man's in the governor's office, I read about it in the newspaper, and I think to myself, who do these people think they are? Have patience with that part of it. I know that your patience is being tried by a lot of things in the last 4.5 months, and I know coming to a place like this and asking you for some patience is probably asking for a lot, but I'm asking because this is a huge undertaking for us. To have the kind of damage that was done to our state, and for us to try to make sure that the money we get from the federal government is spent to help you and isn't wasted, is spent to help you and isn't defrauded from you, is spent to help you and not spent in a way that we'll look back later on and say it was a waste. So that's going to take a little time to do it the right way. And so you're going to continue to hear from me about what we're doing, and there are going to be moments I'm going to ask you for patience, and I hope you give it to me because, we're all new to this. It's the worst storm that's ever hit our state. And the damage that was done is the worst damage that was ever done. 365,000 homes severely damaged or destroyed in one night. 365,000 homes. When I woke up and you woke up that Tuesday morning, October 30th, out of 8.8 million people in New Jersey, 7 million people were without power. Out of 8.8 million people. Every water plant and wastewater treatment plant in the state was closed down. Almost all the schools in New Jersey were closed. There were about 71 gas stations open in the entire state. For all intent and purposes, New Jersey was closed. The entire state was closed. All the normal things that we function and do every day. I think for most of the people in this room, you have an acute recollection of that. But, we have to keep reminding people of how far we've come. 8 million cubic yards of debris have already been removed from our streets and our neighborhoods. 8 million cubic yards have already been removed. And now, for those of you who get near the bay or some of our waterways, you see these barges all over the bay and waterways. We're dredging up some of the 58 homes from Manasquan alone that were washed into the Barnegat Bay. 1,400 boats were sunken in the bay, in the Barnegat Bay, and in the waterways off of the Barnegat Bay. 1,400 boats that are at the bottom of these waterways that need to be dredged back up, and then the hundreds of thousands of tons of sand that was washed from the beaches by the storm surge into the bay need to be dredged out as well to restore the appropriate level of the bay. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stuff to be done, and it's being done right now. We have 3 different companies that are working on dredging the waterways at the same time. One in Atlantic and Cape May, one in Ocean and Monmouth, and one up in Middlesex, Essex, and Hudson to clean up our waterways and get things better, hopefully for the summer, so that we can make the bay and some of those waterways navigable when the tourist season begins down here. So there's a lot of stuff that we need to do. We need to remember where we were and how much we've gotten done so far. And we're going to continue to work to make things better. But it's going to be all of us together who's going to help to get it done. And I feel, as I travel around the state, the great support that we have from people in trying to get this stuff done. And the great patience that many people have shown too. So I'm here also to say thank you to you. I mean, here in Manasquan, you know, we have all of the statistics of all the things that you've gone through, the homes that were hurt, destroyed, the renters who saw damage to homes where they live in, the debris removal that, you know, in Manasquan alone was over $1 million to remove the debris. Multiply that all across this region. $100+ million spent to remove debris across this area. There's a lot of work done, a lot of work still to do. But the great thing, as I said in the video, was the spirit of the people in this state and the resolve that we have together to make sure that we rebuild our state stronger and better than it was before. You know, I see some of your t-shirts and sweatshirts out here about Squan Strong. And we're going up to the bleachers with a Restore the Shore sweatshirt. It's sold all over the state, and the incredible generosity of people too. To Mary Pat's Hurricane Sandy Relief Fund, we now have over 24,000 individual donors to that fund that have donated over $32 million. And, you know, they're working on, we just got another 150 grant requests. They're working on distributing another $10 million to local organizations that are helping to put people back on their feet and help them with their long-term rebuilding prospects. And she's going to take her time to make sure she does that right too. Because the worst thing in the world for all those people who donated all that money, if we have that money spent the wrong way. So we're going to do it smart. We're going to take our time. We're going to make sure that everybody who needs help we get to, either through the federal plans or through the donated money. So we've got some great folks in the state who are willing to fight to return the state to the condition it was in before. And in fact, to rebuild ourselves even stronger than we were before. And in the end, I will tell you, the night the storm hit, on Monday, October 29th, I was at the governor's residence in Princeton. We had no power. We had a lot of candles lit. And that evening, Governor Bush from Florida called.